A warm welcome to everyone. On behalf of Entrepreneurship Cell, Amity University, Mumbai, and the entire fraternity of the Institute, we express our sincere and heartfelt welcome to our Vice-Chancellor, Head of Institutes, Chief Guest, and our beloved students. The Entrepreneurship Cell was started by the students of Amity University, Mumbai, under the guidance of the Amity Innovation Incubator, Noida, to foster entrepreneurship among the students on campus. We at the ecell are focusing on developing the entrepreneurial spirit of young students, which we believe is pivotal for our country to develop and foster. Entrepreneurship Cell aims to provide an incubator to all the incubates within the campus with industry connections and a hands-on experience in the art of entrepreneuring. We also look forward to inspire students to play a prominent role in leading diverse entrepreneurial activities in the country and make a significant contribution to the global innovation. Every year, the members of the ecell Amity University Mumbai come together to organize the Startup Week for the students at campus, along with the alumni entrepreneurs and innovators, to celebrate the spirit of entrepreneurship and to participate in competitions, workshops, webinars, and events tailored with precision around current trends and themes booming in the business world. This year, the Startup Week will be organized in collaboration with the IIC. IIC is Institutional Innovation Council. IIC is an initiative by the Ministry of Education Innovation Cell, which is the MIC, under the umbrella of the Ministry of Education. The aim of the council is to encourage innovation at higher education institutes across India. IIC aims to achieve this by organizing different activities organized by the host institutes and attending said activities organized by the MIC. The Startup Week this year will cater to the needs and opportunities that have sprung up this fateful year, ranging from the onset of the pandemic to the industrial booms and downfalls that compromised 2020. This week-long affair will prove to be a catalyst for the budding entrepreneurs to establish connections with the top-tier achievers in the market, attend entrepreneurial workshops, network with the keynote speaker, and participate in the mini pitch competitions. Like we have the Shark Tank pitch. Shark Tank pitch enables a direct link with the entrepreneurs' resources that ecell Amity University Mumbai has to offer. On this note, we begin our journey of innovating, building, and empowering ideas of our entrepreneurs, and I look forward to everyone's presence in every event. Now, I hand it over to Dr. Seema Unnikrishnan, ma'am, who is the mentor to our ecell Entrepreneurship Cell and the faculty in charge. Over to you, ma'am.
Suryavanshi sir, can we start with the event?
Yeah, Dr. Seema, please go ahead. Please go ahead. Honorable Vice-Chancellor already here. Please go ahead.
A warm good afternoon. Hearty welcome to all the dignitaries, heads of the institution, faculty, staff, and dear students. ecell has grown from strength to strength with the able guidance of Dr. A.K. Suryavanshi, with the ultimate aim to gain popularity among top university. ecell team is a unique mix of creative, dedicated, committed, and talented individuals bubbling with new ideas. The startup event conceptualized by ecell team is a platform to bring brilliant minds from business and startup spheres to share entrepreneurial expertise with students to create learning. Amity University of Mumbai is offering with number of courses under science and engineering technology domain. We have Amity School of Engineering and Technology, Amity Institute of Technology, Amity Institute of Biotechnology, Amity School of Applied Sciences, Amity School of Architecture Planning, School of Information Technology. From the non-science domain, we have Amity Business School, CI School of Logistics, RICS School of Built Environment, Amity Law of School, Amity Institute of Behavioral Allied Sciences, School of Communication, Liberal Arts, Fashion Design, Technology, Fine Arts, School of Languages, and Travel and Tourism, thus allowing and fostering interdisciplinary approach towards entrepreneurial initiatives. Yeah, now Deepak, can you narrate about your proceeding?
So we have with us Ms. Rutuja Dongre. She will take it ahead.
So here we have a panorama of many events that will be taking place in the week-long affair, which will be proved to be a catalyst for budding entrepreneurs to establish connections with the top tier achievers in the market, attend entrepreneurial workshops, network with keynote speakers, and participate in micro-pitch events. We have various competitions for student entrepreneurs, like the Team Up Challenge, where student entrepreneurs will be divided into teams and they need to come up with a plan plan of action for the startup. They can explain their concept with the help of presentations. Next, we have the Shark Tank competition, where student entrepreneurs pitch their product ideas to a panel of sharks who will offer their critiques and decide whether the pitch is worth an investment. We have judges like Ansh Prasad, who is the founder of SkillsPeer, as well as entrepreneur, educationalist, public speaking coach, soft skills trainer, and a quiz master as well. Next, we have the Masterminds Competition, where student entrepreneurs will be given a situation where they are the CEO of a startup and they need to come up with strategies so they can encourage their employees to work harder. We have another interesting discussion session, the Roundtable Conference, where industry experts will be speaking on entrepreneurship in emerging economies. The experts enlightening our event are Kriti Punya, founder of Okai, Dr. Kushal Sangvi, the founder of digital marketing from the Concept Group, Shubhika Bilka, founding partner of ED Power U, Nina Karpe, director on the board of AppTech, partner at 100x.we, and also Dr. Suryavanshi, HOI of Amity Business School. Apart from these events, we will be learning. We believe that learning should have no boundaries during this present time of the pandemic. And hence, we have amazing interactive workshops and webinars. We will be having two interactive workshops, one by Mr. Santosh Kumar, business coach based in UAE, who will be mentoring on future foresight and innovation in a VUCA world. And another by Dr. Suryavanshi, who will be teaching how to master an elevator pitch. Not only this, we will be witnessing renowned figures like Arjun Deshpande, who will be talking about today's youth and innovation.
Now, I would like to welcome Professor Su-Kam Officiating Dean of Academics, to address the participants.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
A very good morning to Honorable Vice-Chancellor, sir, Lieutenant General Dr. Vijay Sharma, sir, Dean Students Welfare, Dr. Gautam Gauli, Dean Research, Dr. Aparna ji, Dr. Suryavanshi, sir, Director ABS and Backbone of ecell, Faculty in Charge, Dr. Seema Unnikrishnan, Student Coordinator, Deepak Bharadwaj, Rutuja, Student Office Bearers ecell, members of ecell, guest speakers, Mr. Faisal Farooqui, Mr. Kunwer Sachdeva, Mr. Vijay Singh, and my fellow colleagues. I'm very happy to see that ecell is coming up as a week. And ecell is an important unit of any educational institute which conducts several activities such as workshops, interactions with successful entrepreneurs, building prototype, setting up small campus companies where other students can be your customers, internship opportunities with outside companies, etc. ecell is students platform, and I hope students learn important and useful traits about entrepreneurship. Even though students do not take up entrepreneurship as a full-time profession, the skill set learned as ecell members would be extremely helpful to them in any job. I'm happy to see that many such activities are planned in ecell week. These activities, in my opinion, are much needed for youth to boost the overall development, new dimensions to add in the thinking process, and nurture with ideas that may change the world. The major skills I hope which you are going to achieve or cultivate among students are kind of takeaway. I can say that organization skill, you can see that more than 250 students have joined this today's program. Team building skill, sales and marketing skill, convincing skill, relationship building, knowledge about compliance, and most importantly, sponsorship, which is major factor of ecell running up. It's a major platform, I hope, for students to march towards startup by coordinating with fellow colleagues, passing on ideas, interacting with mentors, and converting into dreams come true concepts. ecell Week is kind of pioneering effort to achieve all of these goals. I hope the activities and the outcome of ecell will definitely bring laurels to Amity University, Mumbai. Once again, I congratulate all the students, mentors, faculty coordinator Dr. Seema, and the backbone of ecell Dr. Sohis sir for making it happening event for all the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable inputs. Now I'm requesting Professor Aparna Khanna, Head of Institutional Innovation Council, Dean of Research, to enlighten the participants with few words.
Honorable Vice-Chancellor and Professor Charate, Dr. Suryavanshi ji, and Deepak and Rutuja and all the team at ecell and Mayank at IIC too. Very warm good afternoon to all of you. At the outset, I'm very happy that I'm at the inauguration of the Startup Week, which is at this point in time a joint collaborative effort of the ecell as well as the IIC. So through these events and through these platforms, we want to provide students an area wherein they can actually, ideate, and then not only ideate and create an atmosphere of innovation, but also see that the plan goes through end to end. What we also plan is to organize boot camps wherein you would be provided with the kind of mentorship that's required, not only if you have an idea, but also to understand the process and to see you through the process. So all these, so students, please make the most of all these opportunities that have been provided to you all. And attend. I can see the whole list, which is really very good. I can see a whole lot of activities that have been planned up for the week. And as they say, the only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them to the impossible. So think big, dream big, and you have a lot of potential. So let all your ideas flow in and make most of the opportunities that AUM has for you in the field of innovation. So wishing all the team who are participating all the very best and have a great startup week. Thank you. Thank you, Seema.
Yeah, thank you so much, madam, for your valuable words. Now I request Professor Gautam Gowli, Officiating Dean of Social Work, to take up the mic to encourage our ecell team and our students.
Yeah, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Honorable Vice-Chancellor, sir, my colleague, Dr. Suryavanshi, sir, Charate, sir, Madam Khanna, and other colleagues from Amity University. It's a great pleasure for me to be part of this inaugural function of this program, which is being organized by ecell and IIC, and of course this startup week. And I could see the way this week has been planned. As a psychologist, basically, I will look at this particular event as preparing our students to face these challenges which has created by pandemic in this particular academic year. I know that the kind of challenges which you have been facing since last almost more than 1 year. And this has definitely increased your adversity question to deal with difficulties and the kind of uncertainties which you are facing. So this has really helped you become more stronger. And I'm sure that this kind of interaction with all dignitaries which have accepted our invitation to be part of this startup week, I think this is going to help us take this challenge further and entered in the world of work, which we all are waiting for with more zeal. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best for this upcoming startup week. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words. Now, I invite Professor A.K. Suryavanshi, who is a mentor of ecell and Startup Week, to share his valuable thoughts with us.
Thank you, Dr. Seema, for inviting me this morning with the due permission from Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Dean of Student Welfare, Professor Gowli, Dean of Academics, Professor Shrikant Charate, Dean of Research, Professor Aparna Khanna ma'am, Mr. Vijay Singh ji from Amity Innovation Incubator, Noida, and faculty and colleagues from Amity University, Mumbai, faculty and colleagues from other Amity University campuses, my own dear friend, Mr. Faisal from Mouthshot.com, with whom I always enter into the academic debates. Thank you so much for joining. I also would like to welcome Mr. Kunwer Sachdeva, the founder of Su-Kam, and all the students community which is logged in here. Very warm good afternoon to all of you. This is an annual event of ecell, Entrepreneurship Cell, which is actually Center for Entrepreneurship Development at Amity University, Mumbai. As said by Deepak, started by students way back in 2015. And thereafter, they have been very actively following the activities in promoting entrepreneurship, or also maybe thought of entrepreneurship among the students. So this event last year was iconic because close to 182 ideas were submitted. Finally, out of 182 ideas, 80 plus ideas went to the third stage. And in the end, after a lot of shortlisting, 8 ideas are under now the formation of their respective companies. After that, 6 are being formed as a private limited company and 2 under limited liability partnership. So this is the job entrepreneurship development team has been doing a phenomenal job in spite of pandemic and restrictions that has been imposed due to this health crisis. But this time it is different, and with the blessings of Honorable Vice-Chancellor Sir, the way things are, he always says that interdisciplinary work should be more. And that's so profound, because doing some kind of research work or even innovation, because remember, all startup may not arise out of innovation. Similarly, all innovation may not end up as a startup. While innovation may try to support several startups or maybe several existing companies or even R&D factors, but a startup will be very different. A startup eco-culture, an ecosystem is something to be done in a way that you always believe that you will not give up. Simple. You will not give up. So never give up attitude. What they say, if you remember James Bond movie, never say die again. So that's very, very important. They say Roger Moore was the actor that time. So never say die again. So that's very, very important. And for an entrepreneur, it's very important that he or she becomes physically strong, mentally awake. So these are all 2 very, very important factors to remember for entrepreneur. As far Amity University Mumbai is concerned, as all the students, participants who are logged in right now, you remember that right from beginning, there have been a steady growth as far the ecell culture is concerned, and very great support from Amity Innovation Incubator, Noida, AII, which is also incubator. Plus, they also run a venture capital fund company. There have been a lot of support from them right from beginning. Mr. Vijay Veer Singh is here. Vijay Veer Singh, thank you so much for supporting all the time. And everybody from all across the campuses. So what I request here, that this program of Startup Week 2021 has been jointly brought by, which is IIC, which is Institutional Innovation Council, ably led by Professor Aparna Khanna ma'am, and actively nurtured by Dr. Mayan Kumar, and ecell, which is nurtured by Dr. Seema Unikrishnan, and students council members from both IIC and ecell. You people have been doing a phenomenal job. So thank you so much for that. Also here in the end, we would like to thank our, senior team member here, Professor Gauli sir, who is always, he takes care that everybody connects well, and recently he has launched a mental wellness center. So ably, requirement of the time. Professor Charate, every time he will talk about, let's do something interdisciplinary, let's run some program. So that is going to give us fruits in due course of time, as well as Professor Aparna Khanna ma'am, Dean Research, who keeps on focusing and pushing it. And in the end, my profound thanks to Mr. Kunwer Sachdeva, whom I call hero of a startup. And I know him for many years, and on my small call, he said, okay, I'll come. He's a founder of Su-Kam, and not only founder, his journey itself is a inspiring journey, right from selling pen, how he raised one of India's large company, and further one more company. He's almost focusing time about electric vehicles and electric things. And my friend Mr. Faisal, how a lot of profound thanks to you, because I know you are very, very busy. I spoke to Jatun yesterday night. He says, will the Faisal? So I said, no, he has to be there. So many thanks to Jatun. I wish she is connected here. But even if she is not, please convey my thanks to her for bringing you here this morning. And a lot of my gratitude to our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Singh Chauhanji. Immense gratitude and profound gratitude to our founder president, sir, Dr. Chauhanji. And my regards to Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, for joining this morning. I know he's very busy today, but I called him at around 9:30, 10 o'clock. He said, you have to join. He said, I'll join at 12 o'clock. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. So thanks a lot. Have a lovely week. It's getting very crazy this week, but wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words. Now, let me take the privilege of inviting officiating Vice-Chancellor of OM, Lieutenant General Vijay Sharma, for the keynote address.
Thank you very much, Dr. Seema, Professor Dr. Suryavanshi, Dr. Seema, Professor Gautam, Professor Aparna, Professor Shrikant, Charate, and all others who are there on the panel, Mr. Faisal especially, and all the students who are listening to me at this particular moment. Firstly, I would like to compliment the business school and particularly the entrepreneur cell for having organized this entrepreneurship startup week, which is actually the need of the day, because in times to come, the availability of jobs in government sector is not increasing at the same rate at which the students seeking jobs are increasing. The job seekers are increasing at a much higher rate than the rate at which the jobs are being created. So therefore, it will become more and more difficult for students to find jobs, and particularly to find a job of their liking. You may land up with a job, but if the job is not of your liking, then you are either likely to be frustrated, or you are likely to end up leaving that job and trying to step in another job, which itself is quite a cumbersome process. But whereas if you can set up your own startup and do your own business, maybe at a lower scale, and then bring it up to a higher scale, depending on the time and the situation, the things may be much better for you, because it is your choosing, the timings of your own choice, the people you work with of your own choice, and how much you earn depends upon the amount of hard work and innovative ideas that you use. With regard to startups, I would like to mention a few aspects. Number one, and the most important aspect, is to be open-minded. Not necessarily you have to do a startup in the area in which you are studying. Please, that is the biggest fallacy. Some students feel that I am a student of engineering, or therefore so startup is not applicable to me. It is only meant for people who are pursuing business management. Totally wrong. I've seen the startups by people in totally different fields being successful, and some people who thought that they will have the startup only in their particular sector or the core area which they are pursuing, a failure. So therefore, the first and foremost thing to all those who are listening to me is to have an open mind about startup. So it is not necessary that you have to have the domain knowledge and the core knowledge, but yes, once you do decide to have a startup or to put your hands in a startup, you have to do a great market survey as to what is the need of the market. What does the market require? And the product that I am going to sell or the services that I am going to give, are they required? Then who else are providing these services? If there are many already who are providing these services and you have to launch an entrepreneurship or a startup, then what you will do different than others that people will select your service? What is the thing that will be different than others? That is the most important aspect. Or what is thing that you will do same thing but in a different manner? You will do it differently. That is what will matter. Or you will provide services which are much cheaper than what others are providing. That will matter. Or you will be able to provide the same service in a more and much more efficient manner and more responsive manner. you will be able to contact, give a one-to-one address. That is what will matter. So unless you can do something differently or something different, your entrepreneurship is not likely to succeed. That is the main point. Second thing is, most important thing in entrepreneurship I've seen is the people. In any organization, to be successful, it is the people who is the most important factor. Next come processes, and the third comes technology. These three things in that order, People is first. So you have to and human resource is a very scarce resource from the point of view of quality. You may get 20 people who will say, okay, I'll join you. Tomorrow he'll leave you. To see who will join you and who will stick around with you, who has got similar ideas, who understands and who's got same passion as you. In entrepreneurs, starting in a startup, things are not likely to succeed. And to find such people who are committed with resolution, who are prepared to work through adversities, who are prepared to work with you in tandem, and who are prepared to give their heart and soul and complete 24 hours for that entrepreneurship, then only it is likely to succeed. And to find such people is a real challenge. It is not easy to get people, and let me tell you. That is the most difficult thing. If you can get a few people who have got all these qualities that I mentioned, then you will succeed. They have to be determined to overcome obstacles. They have to be determined to overcome challenges. They have to be determined to overcome situations which change from time to time. And that is the most important. The next part I would like to mention is finances. The second most important factor is finance. So anything which requires finances needs to be very carefully planned. If you are able to lay your hands on some financial assistance or aid through government or through NGOs or through private funding or through banks, whatever, if you are able to lay your hands, then you need to be careful that you please control your spendings. Your spending should be less than what is planned. Can never be more than what you are planning, because if you do that and in anticipation that you say, okay, I'll not do my profit for 1 year of startup, thereafter I'll start getting fine. But then what has been seen generally in most of the entrepreneurs which have failed and which I have reviewed some of them, I found that the funding which has been taken has been utilized in some manner which could have been avoided. And how? The maximum wastage is in employing manpower beyond your budget. People say, okay, making PowerPoint, now I'm the CEO, I just had a startup and I've got other thinking to do. So the PowerPoint presentation, maintaining the database, maintaining the Excel files, let me hire someone. That will reduce my work. It will reduce your work. But at the same time, could you not do that work yourself? In the beginning, yes. I was having a word with our founder president, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, at some point in time. So what he mentioned, he said, General Sharma, do you know how I started this Amity education group? It was him and one General K.J. Singh, who was the first Vice-Chancellor of Amity University, Noida. Two of us, he says, we met and we said that we will start education. Just two of them. And he says for 6 months, it was just two of us who were there. No clerk, no one. Just two of us. General K.J. Singh himself was working on the computer, sending emails, tying up with everyone, trying to maintain database, whatever they had. Then after about 6 months, they said, okay, now that we are expanding, there's a lot of work to be done. We need more people. Okay. They employed a few clerks. That is how it started. And then, of course, you know, it's a long story now. It's a history. What Amity Education Group, one of the biggest groups Question is that. So this is what it is, that you have to make humble beginnings. You have to work hard initially. There's no doubt about it. Those who are starting in a startup, and then please see why the startups fail. Most of the stories that come up are the success stories. You always see how people have been successful, how things have worked out, those stories, and you try and take motivation from them. Yes, very much. You need to read the success stories to be motivated, but also you need to read the stories of failure. Now, if you see and you search how many startups were there and how many of them have closed down in less than 2 years, you will find that as many as 85% of the startups close up within first 2 years. 85%. That is what the statistic says. Now, why do so many startups close up in 2 years? You have to got to study those reasons and ensure that you do not fall prey to similar reasons and you have to close down. Because starting is easy, but closing down is very difficult, and then you take it that no, you will not be successful. And finances, how you have to repay those finances, how you have to disengage the people that you have engaged, how you have to close up. So it is a very painful process, and it's also very demotivating. So therefore, to study the aspects which can spoil your startup, and to be prepared to switch over when required. So these are things which are very important. So I'll tell you a case story. One of my relatives, he started in good old days when digital technology was not very prevalent, with renting out of VCRs, video cassette recorders, way back. I'm talking about in 1970s and 80s, early 80s, when internet was not that good and the business was doing very well. He just purchased a few TVs and a few VCRs, and those were taken on rent by people to see pictures or videos which were not available. Internet was not prevalent to that extent. Not that extent, it was not prevalent at all at that time. I'm talking about in India particularly. And those speeds were unimaginable, and it was very expensive. It was there. So that business went on, but with the coming of digital era, with the coming of net, he had to change. And if he didn't change, that business would collapse. Right. Kodak was the filmmaking, the film camera roll was famous, but they had to change because the digital cameras came. So similarly, one should be prepared to change. If you're prepared to change, you're mentally alert and you know what is happening around, then only the entrepreneurs can succeed. So I must say, it's a very good initiative, and everybody must learn from all this. I'm sure there will be ample opportunities to learn. So I wish this webinar a great success. All the best, and Jai Hind.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for your inputs. Today we have with us Mr. Faisal Farooqui, the founder of Mouthshot.com. Mr. Faisal Farooqui is a highly recognized entrepreneur. He has founded and managed 2 successful internet and technology companies, including Mouthshot.com, which is India's largest review platform. Sir has successfully challenged the Draconian Section 66A of the IT Act and the intermediary guidelines rules in the Supreme Court of India. He's spoken at more than 400 national, international keynotes, conferences, and seminars. He has received several dozen awards, including Top 50 Indian Young Leaders from British Embassy India, Top 100 Digital Icons of India Award from Outlook Magazine, Top 5 Techies to Follow on Twitter, Entrepreneur Magazine, Top Contemporary Entrepreneur, Youth Icon, that is from Doordarshan, India's national TV channel. So I'm inviting Sir Faisal Farooqui, sir, to share his experience.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Seema, for that introduction. When you were reading all those things, those beautiful things, for a moment I couldn't recognize who you were talking about, because I certainly don't deserve all those praises. I personally feel that you were talking about somebody else. But I am humbled by the fact that you've used such superlatives to recognize me. But I must say that I am thoroughly impressed with the Honorable Vice-Chancellor's talk, Lieutenant General V.K. Sharma, sir. I was listening to you very patiently, and I thought that if I had not seen you on video, I could have said that this is not an army guy talking, it's a fellow entrepreneur, an experienced entrepreneur who's talking. But definitely, I think the government of India has given you ABSM, and also that really means that you have excelled at whatever you've done in the army. And I'm very excited to be a part of the audience of a university which you are leading, Lieutenant General V.K. Sharma, sir. Thank you, everybody else, the Chauhan family, for being here. I am made to understand that many of the family members are dedicated to the cause of education. Dr. Ashok Chauhan, whose inspiring story I just learned from Lieutenant General V.K. Sharma. Hats off to you and the family whose dedication has made you the largest private university. I don't know what is the next big achievement. You are every day. Amity as a brand, Amity as an educational, institutional, is striving, and it is reaching, and it's setting new benchmark in the country every month, every day. Thank you, everybody who's behind the Amity story.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for your inputs. I'll call.
No, Dr. Seema,
Yes, sir.
please hold on. There's a lot to come from Mr. Faisal. Mr. Faisal, please go on. We will let you go so early, don't worry.
Dr. Suryavanshi has been generous enough to give me about 20-25 minutes. So I will ensure that just before lunchtime, not everybody is yawning. And if I see that there are about 315 participants from all across, and I'm very humbled at that. But let me tell you, a lot of what I wanted to say has been ordinarily summarized by the Vice-Chancellor. And the Honorable Vice-Chancellor, as I said, has been impressive. Of course, when you meet an army person, you get impressed. When you meet a lieutenant general of an army, you get super impressed. I had the good fortune of working very closely with Lieutenant General Zamir Shah while he was the AMU Vice-Chancellor. So you know how an army guy works. But here, Lieutenant General V.K. Sharma is talking like a fellow entrepreneur. So I'm glad that I'm able to relate to a lot of these things he said. So I'll quickly jump into the topic of, do you really want entrepreneurship as a career? And if you do want entrepreneurship as a career, then how do you go about it? So first of all, entrepreneurship is a tough business. It seems easy, but as has been said by previous speakers, it is very easy to start, and it is very difficult to sustain. If in order to start, and I'm encouraging more and more Amity and other universities students to take entrepreneurship as a choice, as a career, because entrepreneurs not just work for themselves, they create jobs. Some of them go on to become some of the biggest employers of the region, of the nation. And then sometimes, if you're successful, then among the largest employers in the world. For example, let's say today Amazon, Uber, etc. have opened up huge opportunities. And 10 years ago, Uber was a very, very small startup, probably just a desk or two and few colleagues of the founder who were working together to help him. But in India, there is some kind of a misconception. People want to have the safety net and the safety and security of being an entrepreneur while having a job as a backup. Now, that to me is a little dangerous. What I tell people is that burn your boats. If you want to become an entrepreneur, and it's an exciting journey, entrepreneurship is a journey, and you want to jump into it, then you want to burn your boats. How do you burn your boats? Now, you must have heard this cliche several times. This is pre-medieval story. It's a real story. The one young army officer of the Spanish Moorish army, just before he landed in Spain, he got he received dignitaries and messages to come to this island and rescue the people there from this tyrannical dictator or ruler who was ruling there. This was around the early 7th century. So he took a committed band of his fellow fighters or people, friends, etc., about 40, 50 of them. And he landed on this island. And they thought that, his colleagues thought that if we are landing on this island, we'll fight, we'll establish our rule of law, we'll defeat this dictatorial, tyrannical king or emperor, whoever he was. And then our job will be over, we'll go back. So the moment they landed on this peninsula, somewhere in Europe, which is Gibraltar today, he asked his followers, his fellow colleagues, to burn the boats. And they said, what? And he said, yes, burn your boats. He said, well, we've taken this huge journey, treacherous journey through high sea waves, and now you're saying burn your boats. How will we return? He said, we are not going back. The moment they landed on the shore, he made them burn the boats. He said, you live here, you die. You survive. Entrepreneurship is something like that. To me, you should commit to entrepreneurship. You cannot have a job offer and say, I think I'm going to work with TCS also, and part-time, agar thoda successful ho gaya mera venture, to main TCS resign kar dunga. It doesn't work like that. If you are committed to, guys especially, if you're committed to a girl, you cannot have a backup girl. That, okay, if this girl says no to me, then I have another one. And it doesn't work like that. Entrepreneurship is like a marriage. And I personally recommend that give it as much importance to any other relationship as your entrepreneurship journey. So first thing is, you must be convinced yourself that you want to jump and start your own business. Now, what is the difference between India is a land, or has been a land, of shopkeepers, and now we are transforming, and it's been my mission, I've been talking about this past 13 years, that we want to transform India from a land of shopkeepers to a land of entrepreneurs. What does this really mean? What it really means that, look, a shopkeeper is a hardworking guy. Usually he's a married person with a family, wife and children, working hard, and sometimes employing one or two people who will take care of the shop or assist him in the shop. He struggles. All his life he struggles. He barely makes enough money to put food on the table and pay off a little bit to his employees or 2, 3, 4 assistants that he has. He works hard. The journey is over at some point of his life. The business is not sustainable. Now that's a shopkeeper. India is a land of shopkeepers. From hundreds of years, that's how we have struggled. That's what creates India's vibrant business scenario. The last several years, there has been a push from private organizations, from individual entrepreneurs, from government policies, etc. Everything coming together, and we want to create or make this and transform this great nation into a nation of entrepreneurs. Now, entrepreneur thinks that his idea is bigger than everything. For the entrepreneur, the mission is to execute the idea that he is harboring in this greatest gift of God to humankind, that's a brain. And that we feel is slowly but surely transforming, because the entrepreneur creates an idea which becomes far bigger than he could have ever dreamt of. And that idea becomes a big startup, could be an unicorn, could become a large employer, could become a big brand, and the journey takes off. But as the Lieutenant General was telling us, that we hear successful stories. We see the success. Steve Jobs started Apple, one of the earliest entrepreneur in the tech industry. Steve Jobs started Apple in 1975. And by 2005, we were calling him very successful entrepreneur. And books were being written about him, including his biography, which was launched somewhere around 2012. Now that 400-page book, 500-page book, will not do justification about the struggles of Steve Jobs. We'll see the good things. And a 35-year-old journey, a 40-year-old entrepreneurship journey cannot be summarized in a 400-page book. It cannot be. You hear only the good things. You hear only the stories of successful things. Do you know what Steve Jobs wrote in 1986 in one of his diary when he was asked to leave Apple? He said, today I was, and I'm quoting, he said, I was asked by the board to resign a company that I created 11 years ago. It was the most depressing phase of my life. I walked barefoot for miles and miles from the office, not knowing where I was going. 11 years later, he was kicked out from the same company that he had founded. And often he had no money to pay for rent. We don't hear all these things. He went in 1997, Steve Jobs went to Bill Gates and asked for a loan of $150 million from one of the richest person of the world at that time to Bill Gates. And Bill Gates wrote him a check of $150 million because Steve Jobs did not have money to pay his salaries to his employees. So Bill Gates, for good old time's sake, for the sake of friendship, wrote a check of $150 million with some condition. And they say that Apple took off from there. Now, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates were old friends. So दोस्तों को यार, help करते हैं. So as a favor, he wrote him a check. Today, Apple is the richest company in the world. Steve Jobs, if his shares were there today, he would have been one of the richest person in the world. But the pain of 40 years of growing Apple is very real. Dr. Suryavanshi told me that talk about a little bit of your experience. I think it'll be a little pompous for me to tell you all the good sides of it. I think Dr. Seema has already mentioned in summary the successful and the visible side of it. But the painful side of it is how entrepreneurs struggle. And not just in India, and not just Faisal Farooqui, every entrepreneur struggles. Some more than the others, some less than the others, but everybody has their own unique share of troubles and pain. It's how you cross that threshold of pain, that trouble, that you become successful. It's the cusp, and majority of the people quit. For the first few years of Mouthshot, there was no revenue. Investors who had promised that they will invest, and I started this in mid 2000. They backed out because the stock market around that time had crashed and everybody said that internet was just a bubble. There was this guy in US, he was very instrumental in controlling the tech stock in US. His name was Mark Mobius. In April of 2000, he had commented that internet is all a bubble, and the markets reacted, and it just crashed, and lo, it crashed. And after that, everybody and their uncles stopped funding tech companies. I was caught in that storm. As I was building up, few private investors promised me that they will essentially put some money. 9/11 happened. Once again, everybody and their uncle tightened their purse because the world suddenly was going through a major shock of how to deal with all these international crises. And there was a lot of uncertainty. And that's when I realized that you need to survive. And in order to survive, you need to muster up your own courage first. If you are not convinced about your own idea, your own startup, how can you convince somebody else? And that is where I realized the benefits of the great Indian family. The great Indian family structure works to the advantage of Indian entrepreneurs. You can raise money from friends and family, provided you convince them. And you will be able to convince them if you're convinced yourself. Unfortunately, what happens is a lot of parents in India, they are guided by the safety net. नहीं बेटा इतना अच्छा MBA कर लिया Amity से, क्यों रिस्क लेगा, TCS में जॉब ले ले, 2-3 साल के बाद अच्छी शादी हो जाएगी. Guys have come and told me that my parents are forcing me to accept the job. I don't want to accept this job because they said if I have a job with Infosys, I will get dowry. Believe it or not, there are at least half a dozen cases I know where guys have taken up jobs in these type of companies because parents have influenced them क्योंकि शादी अच्छी जगह हो जाएगी. I think if you slowly understand the Indian parents' mind, you will appreciate why they want the safety net. They want the safety net because these are the generation that has grown in the 70s when India was going through a lot of turmoil in terms of job crisis, economic crisis, etc. So a bank job was a job for life, a job in life insurance company, or a job with Tatas was a job for life. So they still feel that we should have these kind of safety nets. But you know what we need to do? We need to now tell our parents. We need to tell them. And by the way, I did some deep introspection and sort of like an analysis. I think our parents want us to have stable jobs as opposed to risky entrepreneurship as a career is because India is very low on life insurance. We don't believe inherently as a mass, as a culture, we don't believe in life insurance. We are the insurance of our parents. Our parents look up to us to take care of them in their old age or when they are going through some economic crisis. And that's great. I think all of us, irrespective of which caste and religion and background we all love our parents because that's the Indian culture. And we are committed to taking care of them in their old age. That's sacrosanct. That's undoubtedly not a question to be even asked. But we need to now tell our parents that let me decide my career. Let me jump into this thing about entrepreneurship. Let me swim in the water. I will need your help, mom and dad. Please be there for me. And they will be there for you. Because it is going to be a tough journey. Uske baad, the tough phase starts. Tough phase starts for everything. Right from registration of company, which has become pretty simple now compared to what it was, to finding fellow entrepreneurs who will give you advice, which was almost non-existent, let's say 10, 12 years ago. And you make your model a little successful and you'll have angel investors, people who come in very early, look at your idea, spend some money on your idea, invest in your idea, and maybe venture capitalists, people who will fund your idea to a larger extent with few $1 million. These things exist in India today. In 2011, we had one of our biggest setbacks. The government at that time suddenly amended the IT Act. And in the IT Act, they introduced a clause that said that if you are hosting a content that affects somebody else, then you have to remove it within 36 hours. Any type of content. If somebody complains, B, if you don't remove it, then the police has right to arrest the person who wrote it. These two clauses were inserted. One was called Section 66A, and the other was in the rules called Rule 79.3B, which was a subordinate legislation. Now, I could be talking like a lawyer. I was not. I became one. Entrepreneurship forces you to learn other subjects. And we just, Mouthshot was hosting a lot of these reviews and brands were getting affected. And trust me, we don't have people who write reviews. Mouthshot's user base writes reviews. We are not the expert of those products. It's a very democratic platform. So we were receiving these legal notices left, right, and center. So we knocked on the doors of the Supreme Court of India. And we said, we need help. If we are going to remove the reviews, then what is the purpose of Mouthshot? Because every brand will not want their negative review to be there. And if we don't remove the review, then the brand owners want the identity of the person who wrote the review so that they can take action against those authors of those reviews, which means they could be potentially be arrested. So in 2012, we challenged these rules. And a lot of like-minded people came together. The court hearings went on for almost 3 years, approximately 2.5 years. And on 23rd March 2015, the verdict was in our favor. The Supreme Court ruled that Section 66A was illegal and against the Constitution of India because everybody has the right to express whatever they want to express. And the Supreme Court also said that if anybody is troubled by what's written or what's posted, they should go to the court and get a court order, which is what we wanted, that get a court order and we will remove it. So it was a victory. By the time we pursued the court cases and everything, about 15 other co-petitioners, including Internet Mobile Association of India, Cellular Operators Association of India, etc., joined. The court case was known as Shreya Singhal versus Union of India and Mouthshot.com versus Union of India. Now, entrepreneurship really gives you a lot of these, it forces you to learn in areas which you had absolutely no idea or no interest. I remember being invited to around the time when the trial, when the hearings were going on, I was invited to Delhi at a law conference. You know, it was one of those days when we used to actually go and speak in an auditorium and meet people as opposed to on Zoom in the good old days. So Professor Suryavanshi, I was there, and what surprised me was on the panel, on the dais was a Supreme Court judge. An honorable judge of the Supreme Court was a speaker. 2 lawyers were speaker. I was the only non-lawyer in the entire auditorium, and I was talking to 200 lawyers. I had never imagined when I started Mouthshot that I would be addressing a room full of lawyers. That's what entrepreneurship does to you. Now, you need that courage and you need that confidence, but you need the purpose, the honesty, the sincerity. I would have failed at the ventures if I had an option to always go back to what I was doing. I was doing a job in the US. I quit and I came back, and I said, I'm not going back. I had just come here on vacation. I still have that unused return ticket. This was a time when there were paper tickets. I still have that paper ticket, the unused portion of the return ticket. Some practical tips of entrepreneurship. Be focused. Make sure your idea is validated. You should be convinced about idea, then convince your friends and family. And of course, if you have access to incubators and professors, professors today, especially in good universities, are very, very helpful. You should talk to them. They're helpful in their own assessment of your ideas. They can help you connect with other entrepreneurs, etc. Amity universities, ecell, incubators, innovation centers, etc. are very useful in these aspects. Entrepreneurship is about 18 hours of job every day, and I literally mean 18 hours. I'm not exaggerating. First few years, at least 18 hours. So you won't have time for dating, sharing, all that. So if you want to become an entrepreneur and you want to jump in, I recommend either if you are looking out, you're going out with a girl or a guy, get married first and then start your journey, because you won't have time. Either your venture will shut down, or your girlfriend or your boyfriend will leave you. One thing will definitely happen. So to balance this, get married, then start, because that will actually force you to be focused. And the third thing is, don't be disheartened by failures. Your Vice-Chancellor, with his great experience, has told us that it is absolutely important that we talk about failures. Most entrepreneurs have more stories of failures themselves than the success. If I were to write my autobiography, today what the world sees is the 20% success. I would put in 80% of the failures. And some of those failures are not failures because you are an incompetent entrepreneur, but because entrepreneurship is a lot of variables that are not in your control. Law changes, electricity is not there, UPS didn't work, finance did not come in. And one more thing that I want to talk about is, when people get investment, they become very liberal with their spending. I want to just advise, and I want to tell you this, 70% of the startups shut down within 2 years, not because they had bad entrepreneurs, or the founders were not good, or the idea was not good, they shut down because they run out of money. They spend money on frivolous things. They spend money on things that are not core to the business. Like, I feel that marketing is not core to startups. I just feel marketing is a waste for the first few years. If you can avoid those things, then you are destined to be somewhat successful. I personally feel that in today's age, technology is dominating. Technology is not the only factor that will make you successful. But if you know technology, or if you have a co-founder who knows technology in and out, then you're in good shape. It's a knowledge economy. I advise students to read as much about technology. I advise management students to also learn programming. You don't have to become a coder as a career, but you should know programming. I advise technology students to at least learn how to read a balance sheet, how to prepare cash flow statement, how to understand and recognize, good employees, put in a good HR practice, because it's all about people management at the end of the day. As I said, a lot of things that I have said today is already experienced and was described by your Vice-Chancellor. And lucky are those who have access to him. And under his leadership, I am convinced that this university, founded by Dr. Ashok Chavan, and with an active participation from the Chavan family, will see greater success every day. Thank you, and I will take questions. If Professor Suryavanshi or Dr. Seema is moderating, or the student wants to ask.
Thank you, Faisal. So before we let you go, there are 2-3 quick questions. One question comes from Sally Hore. The question is that what motivates you daily?
What motivates daily? It's a battle every day. Nothing can motivate you every day, but I think the greatest motivation is to see your idea get converted into reality. I think you have to chase that. And it's like if you want to climb Mount Everest, then every day in the morning you have to wake up and you have to make that few meters more, and you have to keep climbing. I think that is what motivates me personally and a lot of entrepreneurs. It's the every day you are somewhat closer to your goal. Do we have bad days? Absolutely, we have bad days. Do we have days where we don't just feel like getting up from the bed? Yeah, there are days like that. Do we have a day where we feel that terrible knot in our stomach? Yes. There are days where we get a news and it just sucks the life out of your gut. But very quickly, you have to put a mask on. You have to put a mask on because you are the leader, you're the captain of the ship of your company. I was talking to, I've had several interactions with Dilip Kumar Saab, the famous actor. And he said, initially, I used to be very depressed because, and he was telling me many such stories. He said, हम खाना खा रहे हैं साथ में, ये ललिता जी हैं, और 2 मिनट बाद मुझको इनका बेटा बनना है और एक्टिंग करना है, ये मर गई हैं और मुझको गम में जाना है, that she is my mom and she is no more. बोले वो मैं तसव्वुर नहीं कर सकता था, I cannot imagine कि मैं कैसे करूँगा. And I used to struggle with that. Entrepreneurs struggle with bad news, and then very quickly they have to put on a mask. That's why you need, as I said, you need a supportive partner, so that when you come home after 15 hours of, hip hop work, you have somebody who understands you. So Get married or get committed.
Thank you. So I think the last question to you, Faisal, I'm sure the next company is going to come from you is shadishut.com. Think about it, the way he is propagating it. So the last question is from Samriddhi. She asked that, what is the biggest difficulty you faced while building mouthshot.com?
I don't know if I can quantify any one difficulty as the biggest difficulty, but I think it becomes very difficult to quantify and put a level to the difficulties. You run into these challenges, and and you feel that this is the biggest difficulty, and then suddenly another difficulty hits you, and you feel that, oh, the previous one was, शायद उनका आखिरी था ये सितम, हर सितम हम ये समझकर सह गए.
Thank you, Mr. Faisal, for being with us this afternoon. And many thanks to Jatun also. I'll personally thank her after this. And we'll connect further as our entrepreneurial discussion will keep it forward. Thank you so much for joining. Have a lovely day.
Thank you for having me. And thank you once again, everybody, for organizing this. Bye-bye.
And all the audience, please stay tuned because we still got a few minutes left out. We have amazing entrepreneur, Kamar Sachdeva coming next. So Dr. Seema, may I request you to proceed further?
Sachdeva has been felicitated with several awards for being a visionary and for his immense contribution to the inverter industry. He graduated in mathematical statistics from prestigious Hindu College, University of Delhi, followed by pursuing a law degree. Thus, exploring into new territories gave him the opportunity to try his life. In the year 1988, Kunwer Sachdeva entered into the cable TV business. Through sheer hard work and determination, he had a factory running under him with 50 employees by 1997. Understanding the situation in the country and looking into new opportunities prompted him to enter into the inverter industry. With a vision to organize the inverter industry and bring world-class technology, he laid the foundation stone of Su-Kam. His vision extends into building Su-Kam into a diverse, multifaceted solutions provider not only in India but also overseas. Kunwer Sachdeva has been felicitated with several awards for being a visionary and his immense contribution to the inverter industry. Over to Sir, Mr. Kunwer Sachdeva, to take up the mic and share your valuable journey to our participants.
Dr. Seema, before Kamarji comes, let me tell you, he is off video because he is traveling. So he will be addressing on his mobile phone. And we are so eager to listen to the hero of entrepreneurship. I always call him, you are my hero. Kamarji, please.
I think I'm online.
Online, okay.
Yeah. I'm not traveling. Sorry if I got that. I gave you that impression. So, first of all, I would like to introduce that. I'm very impressed with the Lieutenant General V.K. Sharma's views on entrepreneurship, and Faisal. I didn't know the Faisal is the person because he used to, I was very. When I was working in the company, I used to see the Mouthshot.com writing a lot of views, negative views about our, customers. So anyway, it's my pleasure to be here. And Dr. Suryavanshi is known to me for the last so many years. And so thank you. I think I would love to have questions rather than talking about myself, if you allow me that.
Okay, sure. But may I request you that, can you speak 2-3 minutes? What do you think about overview of entrepreneurial ecosystem in India as of now? The core challenges, because you are so keen and quite close with regulatory consultation also. So what are those issues that entrepreneurship faces in the India right now, as of now?
So I think the culture is improved in certain areas, and in certain areas it has gone down. So there are a lot of online registrations, lot of online things have come which makes your life easier. But on the other hand, there are certain regulations. This government is making so many laws and regulations which put you under the under trouble. So I think it's a mixed thing. But India में entrepreneurship हमेशा से challenging है. तो कोई बहुत बड़ा वो नहीं है कि आपको कुछ खास करना है, कुछ नया करना है. तो इंडिया में एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप तो अमेरिका की तरह नहीं होने वाला है कि आपने काम शुरू किया और आपको कोई पैसे दे देगा और बहुत ज्यादा आपका वो हो जाएगा. तो इंडिया में तो स्ट्रगल है ही है.
Okay. So question C there, something around what is your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur?
तो मैं फैजल को सुन रहा था, मुझे लग रहा था मेरे दिमाग की बातें बोल रहा है वो. So, you know, most of us have the similar issues, similar thought process. So, कोई फेवरेट क्या है? फेवरेट मुझे ऐसा लगता नहीं कुछ वो है. Sorry, I'm not able to answer your questions
No,
properly.
it's okay. It's okay. So I'm just going through some of the questions the students are pinging me right directly. So I mean, the next question is that while you are trying to build a great company, the first part of you being an entrepreneur out of a small garage in Old Delhi, when you started selling pen, can you share your experience of those days, initial days?
So, मैं जब कॉलेज से निकला था तो मुझे पता था कि मुझे एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप करना है, क्योंकि मैं कॉलेज में ही काम कर रहा था. व्हेन आई वाज इन कॉलेज, व्हेन आई वाज गोइंग टू द कॉलेज, तो कॉलेज में कोई इतनी ज़्यादा पढ़ाई तो होती नहीं थी. आई वाज इन स्टैटिस्टिक्स और मेरा स्टैटिस्टिक्स में कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. गलती से घुस गए थे सब्जेक्ट में. बट मुझे ये था कि मुझे अपना बिजनेस खड़ा करना है. और बिजनेस के बारे में कोई बहुत ज़्यादा सेंस होती नहीं जब आप बिजनेस शुरू करते हो. आपको बहुत कम पता होता है. तो पहला फेज ये होता है कि भाई किसी तरह से कुछ पैसे कमाने लगे हम. कि कुछ मतलब ऐसा नहीं होता कि पहले दिन कोई सोच ले जी मैं बहुत बड़ा एम्पायर बिल्ड करने वाला हूँ. सो उस समय यह था कि मैं किसी से पेन लेता था और जाके बाहर डीलर्स को बेचा करता था. और कोई पैसे टाइम से देता था, कोई पैसे टाइम से नहीं देता था. खुद ही लेके जाता था पेन, बसों में जाता था और जाके बेचता था. सो बट उससे एक अच्छी बात क्या हुई कि मुझे सेल्समैनशिप करनी आ गई. क्योंकि सेल्समैनशिप अगर आप पढ़ाई में कराते हैं, किताबों में कराते हैं, बच्चों को क्लास में सिखाते हैं, तो इतनी समझ नहीं आती जब तक आप प्रैक्टिकली नहीं समझो. इंडिया में अगर आपको सेल्समैनशिप करनी है तो आपका ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने किसी से जाके चेक ले लिया और चेक बनाया और काम हो गया. बहुत सारे इश्यूज होते. सो मुझे सबसे अच्छी बात ये लगी कि उस टाइम का जो एक्सपीरियंस था, मुझे कुछ पता नहीं था पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे, बिजनेस क्या है, किसको बेचना है. बट धीरे धीरे मैंने जिस मैन्युफैक्चर से मैं पेन ले रहा था उससे समझा कि उसके फीचर्स क्या हैं. जाके लोगों को समझाया उल्टा सीधा, जैसे भी करके कुछ महीनों में मुझे बेचना आ गया और पैसे लेने आ गए. बिजनेस में दो चीज होती है. एक होता है सेल्समैनशिप में क्या है कि आपको बेचना आना चाहिए और पैसे भी लेने आने चाहिए. अगर हमने बेच दिया और पैसे लेने नहीं, मैंने कई लोगों को देखा उनको पैसे मांगने नहीं आते. तो अगर आपने पैसे नहीं मांगे, पैसे नहीं ले पाए, तो बिजनेस फेल है. बेचना तो बहुत आसान है, आप किसी को जाके कन्विंस करके कोई चीज दे आए. बट अगर आप उससे पैसे नहीं ले पाए तो यू आर अ बिग फेलियर. सो मुझे दोनों चीजें बहुत जल्दी समझ आ गई थी.
Okay. And one question is that what do you think is the biggest reason for any company to go bad? Is it due to lack of marketing or is it due to lack of good people?
So मेरा काफी लंबा एक्सपीरियंस हो गया, तो मुझे समझ आता है सब कुछ मिक्स है और स्टेज पे डिपेंड करता है आप किस स्टेज पे हैं. तो अगर आप पहली स्टेज है तो आपको ये लगता है कि भाई किस तरह से पैसा कमाना है. पहली स्टेज में ये नहीं होता कि आप कंपनी बनाएंगे, बहुत बड़े सीईओ रखेंगे, बहुत सारे लोग रखेंगे, और पहला स्टेज है कि आपको पैसा कमाना आना चाहिए. तो आजकल मैंने देखा है कि बहुत सारे स्टार्टअप पैदा होते हैं, वो सोचते हैं हमें वैल्यूएशन करानी है. अब वो तो बात मुझे समझ नहीं आई अभी तक कि वैल्यूएशन क्या होती है. ऑल्दो मेरी कंपनी की बहुत अच्छी वैल्यूएशन थी, मैं बहुत वैल्यूएशन लेके आया. बट पहले दिन से अगर कोई ये सोचना शुरू करे मुझे वैल्यूएशन करानी है, तो मुझे लगता है कि बहुत आप गलत फील्ड में आ रहे हैं. क्योंकि किसी की वैल्यूएशन तो तभी होगी जब कोई ऐसी चीज हम बनाएंगे जिसको दुनिया वाह वाह करेगी. वो इतना आसान नहीं होता. लेकिन अगर हम पहले दिन से ही वैल्यूएशन की बात करने शुरू कर देते हैं तो मुझे लगता है हम गलत साइड में चले गए. ये मेरा पर्सनल व्यू है, बट आजकल की जनरेशन थोड़ा डिफरेंट सोचती है.
Okay. And आपकी सबसे बिगेस्ट स्ट्रेंथ बताइए कंवर जी.
बिगेस्ट स्ट्रेंथ, जैसे फैजल ने बोला कि जब फेलियर्स आते हैं तो हम भी परेशान हो जाते हैं, दुखी हो जाते हैं, थोड़ा डगमगाने लगते हैं. पर मुझे लगता है मेरी स्ट्रेंथ सबसे अच्छी है कि मैं बहुत जल्दी अपने आप को संभाल के दोबारा वापस लड़ने पे आ जाता हूँ. क्योंकि आपका कितने दिन का पीरियड है. देखिए, आप जब दुखी होते हैं या परेशान होते हैं या आपको कोई चैलेंज आ जाता है और आप होते हैं, सब हम नॉर्मल ह्यूमन बीइंग हैं, तो कितनी जल्दी आप वापस आके उस लड़ाई को शुरू करते हैं. तो मेरा जो टाइम है वो मैंने देखा धीरे धीरे कम हो गया. पहले कभी मुझे हफ्ता लगता था, अब मुझे कुछ घंटे लगते हैं. फिर मैं सोचता हूँ चल यार आजा वापस, इसको देखते हैं क्या करना है.
Thank you, Kanwarji. Next question is that can you talk a little bit about your new venture, which is going to be another milestone about electric.
So पहले तो मैं अपना पुराना वेंचर बता देता हूँ कि मैं पुरानी कंपनी खराब करके आ गया. So Su-Kam liquidation में चली गई. So I've started a new company क्योंकि मैंने पहले बड़ी कोशिश करी उसको वापस लेने की, पर ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं. So I've started a new company in the name of Su-Vastika. And बहुत बड़ी स्ट्रगल है. एक बड़ी कंपनी में काम, बड़ी कंपनी चला रहा था, बंद हो गई, खराब हो गई, दोबारा नई कंपनी शुरू करनी पड़ी. शुरू में तो बहुत चैलेंज था, लेकिन आई एम एंजॉयिंग इट नाउ. सो क्योंकि हमने इन्वर्टर में बहुत एक्सपीरियंस लिया था, और इन्वर्टर इंडस्ट्री, यूपीएस इंडस्ट्री, सोलर इंडस्ट्री और इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल इज द सेम इंडस्ट्री. सो मैं इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल के लिए चार्जर्स, लिथियम बैटरीज और बहुत सारी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की चीजें हैं जो हमें लोगों को समझानी है, क्योंकि इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल में सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज क्या है कि इंजीनियर्स नहीं है. आज की डेट में अगर आप देखेंगे तो इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल में सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है इंजीनियर्स नहीं है, जिनको समझ हो पावर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स होता क्या है. सो अगेन वी हैव बिल्ड द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड लोगों को ट्रेनिंग दे रहे हैं, नए कॉन्सेप्ट पे काम कर रहे हैं, एंड इट इज इंटरेस्टिंग. तो इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल इज द सेम सब्जेक्ट व्हाट वी आर डूइंग इन इन्वर्टर. इन्वर्टर में क्या होता है कि आप पावर स्टोर करते हैं और फिर उससे पावर से जो आप स्टोर की हुई पावर होती है बैटरी में, उससे आप एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस करते हैं. इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल भी सेम कॉन्सेप्ट है कि आप पहले पावर चार्ज करके पावर करते हैं, बैटरी को चार्ज करते हैं और उसके बाद उससे आप मोटर चलाते हैं. सो इट्स अ वेरी सिमिलर कॉन्सेप्ट.
Kumar, the next question is that suppose you have to give a few advice to college student who wish to become entrepreneur and go for a startup. What those suggestions क्या होंगे आपके?
तो आजकल एक स्टार्टअप एक ऐसी वर्ड शुरू हुआ है जो हमें पता नहीं था कि स्टार्टअप क्या होता है, लेकिन आजकल एक फैशन हो गया है कि आई एम ए स्टार्टअप, यू नो. सो आई एम आल्सो स्टार्टअप, जो मैंने एक कंपनी शुरू करी. तो स्टार्टअप में क्या है कि पहले तो ये सोचना चाहिए कि आपके पास कॉन्सेप्ट क्या है, आप क्या करना चाहते हैं, कि आपको रियली कुछ लगता है कोई प्रॉब्लम है जिसका आपने सोल्यूशन देना है. सो अगर आपके पास कोई प्रॉब्लम है जिसको आप बड़ी सीरियसली सोचते हैं कि यार इसका मैं सोल्यूशन दे सकता हूँ, और मुझे नहीं लगता उसका सोल्यूशन आपको पता है या नहीं पता, लेकिन आपको ये लगता है कि हाँ मैं ये सोल्यूशन कर सकता हूँ, और आप उसको सोल्यूशन करने के लिए कूदते हैं और पेशेंस से काम करते हैं और ये उससे हटते नहीं हैं. तो जैसे फैजल ने भी बोला कि जब तक आप कोई प्रॉब्लम को सोल्यूशन के लिए आप पैशनेट नहीं है, ये नहीं कि छोटा सा कुछ हुआ तो हिल गए. सो जब तक आपको वो सोल्यूशन देना है और उसके लिए आप काम करते हैं, करते तो धीरे धीरे सोल्यूशन आने लगता है. और फिर बाकी चैलेंजेस हैं, फिर बड़ा कैसे करना है, पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे और बड़ी सारी चीजें हैं.
Okay. Next, last two questions. One is that suppose building up a team by a startup, what would be the normal composition? क्या होने चाहिए? What kind of people should be in the team as a founders? Should one go solo, or should one form a team of different people of having different expertise?
So डिपेंड करता है कि आप किस माहौल से आ रहे हैं. So अगर आपको लगता है मैं पार्टनर्स ले सकता हूँ और पार्टनर्स के साथ काम कर सकता हूँ, तो इट्स अ वेरी गुड कॉन्सेप्ट. बट उसमें आपको पता होना चाहिए कि पार्टनरशिप में बहुत पेशेंस चाहिए और बहुत सारी चीजें आपको नजरअंदाज करनी पड़ती हैं. और अगर आपको लगता है कि मैं पार्टनरशिप में नहीं कर सकता, एम्प्लॉयज लेने हैं, तो आपको ये समझना पड़ेगा उन एम्प्लॉयज को ट्रेन आपने ही करना है. अगर सीखे सिखाए एम्प्लॉय लेंगे तो आपको काम नहीं करने देंगे, क्योंकि उनके कॉन्सेप्ट होंगे, आपके कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं, फिर उनके कॉन्सेप्ट चलने लगेंगे. सो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि आपको ये समझना है कि अगर पार्टनर ले रहे हैं तो ठीक है, और अगर एम्प्लॉयज ले रहे हैं तो एम्प्लॉय की बड़े कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर होता है कि भाई मुझे ये काम करने के लिए बोला गया और मैंने काम किया, मुझे शाम को पैसे मिल जाने चाहिए, एक महीने के बाद मुझे पैसे मिल जाने चाहिए. तो एम्प्लॉय से अगर आप ये एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं कि एम्प्लॉयज बहुत बड़ा रिजल्ट दे देंगे, उनको आपको ट्रेन करना पड़ेगा, उनके आप फॉलोअप लेने पड़ेंगे, उनको बहुत सारा उन पर आपको टाइम लगाना पड़ेगा. आपको ऐसे तो एम्प्लॉय मिलेंगे नहीं जो आएंगे और आपका बिजनेस खड़ा कर देंगे. आपको ऐसे ही लोग मिलेंगे जिनको जो समझाया जाए वो कर सकते हैं या उतना भी नहीं करेंगे. तो आपको ये फ्रस्ट्रेशन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. आप एम्प्लॉय लो, उनको ट्रेन करो. उसके लिए बड़ी जरूरी है कि आपको भी सब्जेक्ट आना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं आप सोचो यार ये वाला एक्सपर्ट मैंने ले लिया है और ये मेरी कंपनी चला देगा. तो ये मेरे साथ तो इतने सालों में हुआ नहीं है, और मुझे नहीं लगता किसी और के साथ भी होता होगा. बड़े रेयर केस में होता होगा किसी को ऐसे लोग मिल जाएं जो उसकी कंपनी चला दें. सो एंटरप्रेन्योर को कभी ऐसे लोग नहीं मिलते जो उसकी कंपनी चला दें. उसको चलवाने पड़ते हैं, उन लोगों को ट्रेन करना पड़ता है, उन लोगों को ट्यून करना पड़ता है. क्योंकि आप देखते हैं कि इंडिया में एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है कि हम स्कूल कॉलेज से सीख के आते हैं कि हमें कंपटीशन करना है. हमें कभी भी ग्रुप में रह के काम करना नहीं सिखाया जाता. सबको इंडिविजुअल है कि मुझे फर्स्ट आना है, मुझे ये नंबर चाहिए। तो उस सोसाइटी से जब लोग आ रहे हैं तो उनको एक ग्रुप में रह के काम कराना बड़ा मुश्किल काम है। सो वो सब कुछ एंटरप्रेन्योर को सीखना पड़ता है और आगे लेके जाना पड़ता है।
Kamarji, thank you so much. I know because you are known as a great devoted family man. So the last question from my side, all these 25 years running a great company, big company, moving around whole world, how did you manage this balance? Your
So
sons.
I didn't have that privilege of having this balance. I had a divorce after 20 years of my marriage, and I struggled a lot. And then again I got into marriage. So मेरे पास वो privilege नहीं है आपको ये बताने के लिए.
Thank you. Kamarji, last advice from your side to the students.
Last advice. सर एडवाइस देना बड़ा मुश्किल काम है और बड़ा आसान काम है क्योंकि जो आप नहीं कर सकते दूसरों को बताना बड़ा आसान होता है। सो मैं तो यही बोलूंगा, अगर आपके कुछ सपने हैं और उन सपनों को साकार करना है तो इतना आसान काम नहीं है। अगर आसान होता तो सबको ही कर लेते। तो लेकिन लगे रहिए, मतलब वो है ना, लगे रहिए मुन्ना भाई, कुछ ही प्रॉब्लम्स आएंगी दुनिया, आप अपनी चीज पे अड़े रहिए और बहुत ज्यादा एडवाइस लेने की कोशिश मत कीजिए। मुझे लगता है कि आप जब इस देश में किसी से एडवाइस लेने जाते हैं तो एडवाइस देने के लिए सारे लोग बैठे हैं और एडवाइस में कभी कभी क्या होता है, जो आपका थॉट होता है वो चेंज हो जाता है। सो मुझे लगता है कि आपके पास अगर लगता है आपको थॉट है और ठीक थॉट है तो आप उसको अपने साथ रख के उसकी डायरेक्शन में काम कीजिए। और कई लोग बोलते हैं यार कंपटीशन को बहुत देखते हैं कि कंपटीशन में क्या चल रहा है। मैं अपने लोगों को बोलता हूं भैया ज्यादा कंपटीशन की तरफ दिमाग मत लगाओ, अपनी तरफ दिमाग लगाओ। कई बार क्या लोग होते हैं अपने कंपटीशन की तरफ इतना दिमाग लगा देते हैं, दुनिया में लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, कि वो अपनी तरफ ध्यान लगाना ही भूल जाते हैं। अगर आपको लगता है आपके पास ये थॉट है और उस थॉट को आप आगे ले जा सकते हैं तो उस थॉट में इतना टाइम लगाइए कि आपको उसके सिवाय कुछ दिखे ही नहीं। जैसे मैं एक एग्जांपल देता हूं कि अगर आपको कोई लड़की पसंद आती है तो आपको जब उससे प्यार होने लगता है, लड़की या लड़का जो भी है आपकी जिंदगी में, तो आपको उस समय कुछ और दिखता ही नहीं है। आप कुछ भी कह लीजिए, पढ़ाई की बात कर लीजिए, कुछ भी कर लीजिए, आपको ये दिखता है यार वो लड़की ऐसी है, उसके साथ प्यार हो गया है, या चाहे वो आपको भाव दे रही है चाहे नहीं भाव दे रही, तो आपको उस टाइम उस टाइम के अंदर, वो एक एज होती है या शायद एज भी नहीं होती है, तो आपको उस थॉट के सिवा कुछ नहीं दिखता है। अगर उसी थॉट से अगर आप बिजनेस की तरफ सोचना शुरू करें तो आप डेफिनेटली सक्सेसफुल होंगे। और उसमें फेलियर भी होता है, कोई चीज एकदम तो जल्दी होती नहीं है, हो जाए तो उसके अपने चैलेंजेस होते हैं। सो अगर बिजनेस को, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को भी इस तरह से लें कि यार ये थॉट है मेरा, मुझे लड़की पसंद है और मुझे यही चाहिए और इसी के लिए मुझे काम करना है, चाहे दो हो जाए, मुझे ये इसके लिए जो करना पड़ेगा मैं करूंगा, तो शायद मुझे लगता है एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप आसान हो जाती है।
Okay, Kamarji, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I know you are very busy, but thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Seema, you may proceed now.
Yeah. Now it's time for announcing. It's time for announcing call for B plans by all head by Professor Vijay Singh.
Thank you, Dr. Seema. I'm not professor, but yes, thank you. It was good, lovely hearing that word. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, Honorable VC Sir, Professor Suryavanshi Sir, and thanks for inviting me for such a great initiative by AI Mumbai, ecell Mumbai team, and the entire students community who are part of this session. Well, I'll just take you through a brief journey about what we have been doing. We have been supporting entrepreneurs since 2007 when Amity Innovation Incubator was formed based off Noida. And so far we have gone so big that we are presently situated in 6 regional centers, and also outside India we are in around 3 to 4 multiple locations, including Dubai, New York. And so we have been supporting entrepreneurs right from India and taking them globally by soft landing platform. What we have been doing is so far we have generated or supported 300 plus odd startups, ventures out of India, supported them 360-degree. We take a great pride in talking about Incubator as a very comprehensive ecosystem, because everything is with us. We have Amity Capital Ventures, which is supporting young entrepreneurs with the funding support at a right time. So So this business plan competition, what we will announce today, is more of students coming out with bright ideas. Please, a small advice to all students is, please don't think of the solution side of it. Just only talk about the problem. Come out with the problem statement, what you see in the market. And once you clearly articulate that problem statement, believe me, there are multiple solutions which you can come out of it. So that's it from my side. I welcome you all here. I look forward to seeing more and more such innovative ideas coming from this initiative. And we are here to support you. ecell team at Amity Mumbai, Amity University Mumbai is there to support you. AIA Mumbai is there, and any queries, whatever you have, please route it through Suryavanshi sir and ecell team, and we are there to support you from Amity Innovation Incubator, Noida. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your support. Now, next we have got the vote of thanks. I request Dr. Mayank Kumar to give the vote of thanks.
On the behalf of entire entrepreneurship cell, Amity University Mumbai, and the entire fraternity of the institute, we express our sincere and heartfelt thanks to our chief guests who spent their precious time gracing the occasion. Today, we had the opportunity to hear your thoughts, and it has definitely encouraged the youth in their journey ahead. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and shown us a new path. Our sincere gratitude to all the speakers for adorning the occasion and sharing your valuable thoughts. Events of such class cannot happen overnight, but it requires meticulous planning and bird's eye for details. And we have been fortunate enough to be supported by a proactive, dedicated, and a great team who have given nothing but their absolute best at every stage of this event. We would like to thank Mr. Deepak Bhardwaj, President of Entrepreneurship Cell, and all the other members of the ecell. A special mention to our respected mentor, Dr. A.K. Suryavanshi sir, who has been the catalyst that have inspired us to do our best and stood as a pillar of strength. With a deep sense of appreciation, we would also like to thank Dr. Seema Unikrishnan, faculty in charge ecell, for constantly guiding and motivating the team. Last but not the least, a special thanks to the audience and all the participants for being with us. Thank you.